welcome to Bullcast episode 4. Today is November 2nd, 2022. My name is Audrey, and we have a other co-host with us tonight, Matthew Lee.
Yeah, really great to be here, Audrey, and thanks for Bullcast for having me on.
Yes. So tonight we are going to be talking first about the events that are happening locally in St. Pete. We have first event on Saturday, the Zubrick Magic Show. They are most famous in the Tampa Bay area, and they're having a show from 7 to 9:30 p.m. and it's admission for the tickets are $40, but there is also a VIP package involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe with the VIP package on their website, it's $147, and you get popcorn, a beverage, obviously
front row seats,
and you also get a free gift involved. And according to their website, as of right now, it's $147 for the VIP package, but standard admission tickets are $40.
Yes, and this is happening on Saturday.
Yeah.
For a full 70-minute show from 7 p.m. to 9:30. So it's a great show for the family to be involved.
Absolutely. And even if you're a student here at USF, you're looking for something fun to do on the weekend, you know, why not enjoy and partake in a magic show? Everyone loves a nice trick.
Well, absolutely. And the other event that we have is on Sunday for local also that's happening with our museums. They're doing what's called admission $6 Sunday for the St. Pete History Museum. And that's a St. Pete historic museum that talks about the history of St. Pete for those who are new to the area for the campus. You know, they might not really know a lot about St. Pete and what's been happened before to the area. And so this is part of something that they're doing every Sunday, $6 admissions only, and you can go from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday, which is their admission hours of the museum on Sunday, and experience and learn about our city here in St. Pete.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, Audrey, the museum, the St. Petersburg Museum of History, I believe that's what it's called. It's located right by the pier.
Yeah, so it's actually right in the boardwalk to the pier before you go on out to the water.
You know, it's funny, you know, being, growing up here in the St. Petersburg community, I've always passed that museum multiple times, and I've actually never stepped foot in there once. So this actually might be a golden opportunity to go now.
You know what? I haven't either.
Perfect.
I haven't been. I walked to the pier. I've been around that area, but I've never catched the right moment of the museum being open due to classes and being on campus for other activities.
Absolutely. So for anyone interested, I think it's a great opportunity to learn more about St. Petersburg, learn more about your community and whatnot. But you know what, that also goes to show, you know, St. Petersburg is really known for just being a part of arts, community, and culture. So if not the Museum of Natural History here in St. Petersburg, there are a multitude of other phenomenal museums here. For example, the museum I really want to pay a visit to is the Imagine Museum, and they do a lot of contemporary glass artwork, which is something, you know, oddly enough, a little fun fact, my dad actually used to be a glass blower, so I think it would be really cool to see all the different works of glass that they make.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a unique thing to experience and see the talent that these artists have to create such a masterpiece for the glass blowing. They make bowls, I think, too, right? Or they make actual, like, sculptures, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can make just about anything with, you know, the tools that are at their disposal and a little bit of imagination as well. And I know that Chihuly moved to, I believe, around, maybe not central, but around that area, but that's a great museum as well, and I'd recommend anyone to check out his work.
That definitely sounds a great pointer to go visit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you were mentioning, about like students as well, getting involved in the community, and we were talking about classes, whatnot, and that's definitely something that's been on everyone's mind with that. But as of right now, registration is open. So for any students looking to get into their classes, definitely, register at the earliest convenience, and we want to make sure you get the classes that you need. So, you're not, in the water, trying to fight for the best classes. And, I would even recommend, before, registering, check out the classes beforehand. I use Rate My Professor. I don't know if you've ever used it.
No, I have not used Rate My Professor.
Well, it's a great anonymous forum where students can actually post their own thoughts and feelings on taking one of their professor's courses, and they can leave reviews on their professors. So, but sometimes, if we can be honest, you may not have that opportunity to decide which class you have to take, because sometimes it might be only one professor taking it. But I think it's a phenomenal resource, especially if you want to have sort of an idea of what the professor's like, what their grading habits are like, and what really their core material is for that course as well.
And I'm sure it allows you to see the sections that they are planning on teaching for that upcoming semester, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe not for the upcoming semester, because,
or previous semesters.
Right, because, things can change, Obviously, times change, technology improves, at least here in the digital media world, since we're all in this.
We're on the major, correct?
Yeah, we're on that major, of course. So you never know, but it really gives you a good idea of what you're getting into. And I know you're actually a transfer peer coach, if I'm not mistaken.
I am indeed.
So, since we're getting into this subject right now, what advice do you have for new transfer students, or even new students, coming here from even high school? What advice can you give to them about, registering and picking out their courses?
I definitely would say recommend to have them meet with their advisor more than once. Have them be figuring out at least a schedule if they feel comfortable looking at DegreeWorks, which is our system used for the classes. That is a great way to see what's available, and just talk with their advisors, talk with other students. That's a great way to seek advice for incoming students right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of, people really need to get that information and definitely have consistent communication with their advisors as well.
Yes, meet with the advisors and see how that's going to fit with their upcoming schedule too. What feels comfortable to them too. Like, can they do 4 classes, or they want to bump it up to 1 more class this semester if they've only taken 4 classes this current semester and want to take 5 to balance it out. It's easier to drop classes during that period, or even now as you're registering. It's easier to drop a class and then go back and be like, oh, okay, let's drop this and add another class that have a better fit for that major and that fits better into the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And very great points you made as well. And I think we're getting word that we actually have a photo segment going on tonight too.
Okay,
so we're actually going to have Chris Campbell on, one of the adjunct faculty members. So we're going to be talking about social media, photography, and a lot of great tips to adhering to professionalism in the photojournalism world. But before that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we actually have a video clip that one of our off-the-scene photographers took. So I believe we're cutting to that, if I'm not mistaken.
Hello, my name is Emerson Taylor. I am the Chancellor for the Rosai chapter for our business organization, Delta Sigma Pi. I wanted to extend the invitation to please donate any food to Lynn Pippinger Hall or the business building, or at USC. During this time of the holiday season, we like to give back during our annual food drive. So please help out the people that need it the most.
All right. So welcome back, everyone. As you can see, Audrey has disappeared, but now we have the esteemed
Well, I don't know if
Chris,
esteemed, but well,
I would
thank you
say
for
I would say esteemed
those
because
kind words.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know, we have Professor Chris Campbell here, adjunct faculty at the University of South Florida. Phenomenal journalism teacher. So if you need someone to teach you anything about cameras and video, this is the guy you want to come to. So thanks for coming on here, Chris.
Thank you for those kind words.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about cameras and photography today, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, but before we get into that, I was hoping we could give our audience a little bit of a background on you for like how you got into the journalism department and what really serves as your foundation motivation for being here.
Okay. So so I basically actually was a biologist before I did this, actually. And I was interested in bird behavior and ornithology. My undergrad degree is environmental studies, actually. So I did that for a while as a scientist. And then I basically decided one day, I've always had this interest in film photography. I've always kind of wanted to do that. I was like, I loved movies growing up, and I just always really liked that. And then so one day, I was working as a biologist, and I just realized that I love biology and nature and science, but I didn't want to do it as a career anymore. So then I said, you know what, I want to pursue this thing in film photography, but I like academia. So I decided that I want to go back to grad school. So I did. So I went back to grad school for here in the journalism program. Technically it was the MLA and the Master of Liberal Arts program, but I basically took all my classes in journalism. But I really wanted to be a filmmaker and a documentary filmmaker. So I did that. I specialized the track for that. And I had some great help. The esteemed Dr. Frechette really was my mentor and really helped me through the whole graduate, along with everybody else, along with the wonderful department here. Including I always like to embarrass Mr. Peterson about this because Casey Peterson, because we were freshmen at the time, graduate freshmen at the time, all those years ago. Not that long ago, it wasn't that long ago. And so I did that. And but I'm really self-taught. I'm totally self-taught actually. I kind of had to learn most of it on my own. Dr. Frechette was very, very helpful, obviously, but I really had to learn a lot on my own, actually. And it was a struggle because I remember like when I was learning f-stops and shutter speeds and exposure triangle and all these other kind of things, it was like, what the hell's going on, right?
Right.
Oh, I don't know if I can say it. I can say that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, that's not swearing.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Sorry, but I'm anyway, so I did that. And it was a challenge to learn everything myself. Not everything, I shouldn't say not learn everything myself, but to be kind of like mostly self-taught.
Yeah.
And so I kind of did that, and now I really basically enjoy it. I feel like I'm getting somewhat of a handle on it, although it took me a while to do it.
Yeah.
So I can really understand, like, because I teach photojournalism and video storytelling and visual effects, other classes, I can really understand how students feel when they're learning it for the first time because it's really confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like, what is this stuff?
Right.
But then it just clicks one day. I don't know about for you, but for me, it was like, oh, that's what f-stop is.
Right. Absolutely.
And it just clicks. But it's a different for everybody kind of a thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you for sure when I first started out with photography, it was definitely, a learning curve, just like with everything. And, the way I see it, you can read as much books as possible. You can attend as many lectures, watch a plethora of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But if you're really not applying that knowledge to real world experiences, getting yourself a camera, good beginner camera, or even using your smartphone in some cases.
Yeah.
If you're not applying that knowledge, you really aren't going to get anywhere.
Absolutely. I mean, I read a lot of books in the beginning, and I think that reading is important and knowledge is important and getting that base knowledge. But until you actually do it, and until you fail and make mistakes, it's really, you don't experience it. I mean, I look back to some of the stuff that I did earlier when I was in grad school here. It is embarrassing. I mean, I look at it, I'm like, I would have been fired if I was working in any other job. But that's part of the advantages of school, is that when you're an undergrad or a grad student or an undergrad, you know, you can fail. It's okay, in the sense that, you know, it's part of the learning process, I think. So it's okay. And the videos have been destroyed, I think.
Oh.
But there are some funny videos, like from when I first started, because I distinctly remember I graduated. So this studio that we're in was a classroom. In fact, as a graduate student, I took classes in here. This used to be a classroom. There used to be a projector over there. There used to be desks right here. And then I remember one day, Dr. Mark Walters, who's my boss, he basically said, you know what, we're going to get some money to basically create a studio for the digital journalism online, digital journalism and design online program.
Right.
And he said, all right, so we're going to get this money, so figure it out.
Right.
And I was terrified because I had no clue what I was doing.
And that's phenomenal too, especially you really never know what the future, you know, brings for you.
Yeah.
I mean, your passion for video and photo led you to being an adjunct faculty member here, being able to teach the students, and with the studio here, you know, you're able to give all of us, you know, me and everyone else working here, an opportunity to really get real world professional experience. So, you know, thank you to you. Thank you to Dr. Walters, of course, for the funding that we have here.
It was so funny. It was so interesting because I remember when Dr. Walters said that, I went into my room and I started to cry because I really had no clue what I was doing. I was terrified. But luckily, that's when Dr. Frechette, who was over in Fournier at the time, he was an advisor. So he came over and he advised a bit. And then Edgardo, who actually used to sit right over there at that desk over there, he basically helped out also. Right. And all three of us have different skill sets to basically make it work. And I think that that's also an important thing too, is that people need to understand, I think, that you're not an island. I mean, it's very tempting, like because I've had to do everything myself and learn everything myself for the most part, I get really like, it's very easy for me to be like, well, I can just do it all, right? I can do it. I can figure it out. I can do that because I've had to. I've had to figure it out, you know? But sometimes I think it's important to realize that we need to reach out to people for help.
Absolutely.
Right? If it wasn't for Dr. Frechette, if it wasn't for Edgardo, I literally wouldn't have been able to do it myself. Right. I just wouldn't have been able to do it.
And, you know, that's really the beautiful thing about, you know, being in a field that you certainly enjoy, especially here at USF. You know, you have this community, you have people that you can rely on because, like you said, we can't do it all.
Right.
And obviously having as much skills as possible for oneself, you know, definitely can add value to the workplace.
Yeah.
But there are definitely situations where you can't handle it alone. You need a team of experienced individuals to help complement that skill set. So since we're getting into that, Chris, you know, just thinking about your job here and everything, and I'm sure you find yourself in a lot of positions where, you know, you're doing event photography, sometimes
something different every day. Every day it's different.
Right. Yeah. Professional headshots, for example, you know, professional video work for advertisement and promotional purposes. So my question to you is how, you know, for anyone wanting to get into this field, how can we adhere to professionalism, you know, being in this space? Because
you mean in the space of, in general, in terms of day-to-day different types of photography or video events?
I would say in your line of work too, because, you know, an event photographer that can also transform into portraits, that can also transform into, you know, run and gun video work. I mean, you might be hired for one thing one day, but it might end up being something completely different as well.
Right. Well, I would say really be nice. You know, be nice, be respectful of other people. I think that's so important in this field. No one wants to work, I think that's important in any field. People don't want to work with someone who is not respectful, who is not nice. You know, I mean, like sets, film sets, for example, can be very stressful sometimes. I mean, even now, for example, in the half an hour before the show started, you know, it was like organized chaos. People running, you know, everyone's doing this, and that's, you know, but it was but everyone likes everybody and we all work well together. So it's not like anyone was yelling and screaming at each other, right? But it was still that kind of chaotic, fun energy. So I think that that's important, I would say, to just understand that, like, to really be nice, be respectful, be professional, be considerate of what other people are thinking and feeling, kind of a thing. Because it really depends, because every situation is slightly different. But like all the technical stuff, you know, that's technical things, really, I guess. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I think that, I would say that the people skills, I would say that you need both to really, truly be successful. I mean, you can be a technical wizard, but if you don't work well with other people, then no one's going to hire you, right? So I think you really got to have both.
Exactly, too. And, you know, having a positive attitude, you know, and, you know, nice rapport with the individuals you work with, that adds value to the workplace. And I actually had a conversation with one of my mentors recently on, you know, sometimes she told me she would rather work with someone who might have less experience, but is a joy to work with, versus working with someone who's very experienced, but, you know, they're constantly, you know, they have a bad attitude. You know, no one wants that in the workplace. And, you know, I definitely value that as an employee. And, you know, I want to work for, you know, a boss, you know, as someone who's, you know, respectful, values me, values my time, and the skill sets that I bring. So when you're on the scene, Chris, and you know you're doing photo shoots and everything, and you know for me, my top priority is always making sure my clients or the people I collaborate with, they always feel safe and comfortable.
That's
you know,
very, very important. Yes, absolutely critical.
You know, I think a couple tips that, and you know, let me know what you do as well. I always ask them, you know, are you okay with me adjusting your hair? You know,
that's,
and I also give them a say in, like, you know, the content we make. I do a lot of freelance portraiture. I do a lot of personal projects on my own. So, and typically I also give them a say, you know, hey, are you okay with me posting this? And obviously it's, you know, different from a professional standpoint or networking event where, you know, they might fill out a media release form, or there's a notice before going or participating in an event that if you come here, you will be subject to being recorded, photographed, etc.
Right.
So my question to you is, do you follow like any of these procedures when you're like out in the field doing work?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then I think that this may need to be our last question, right? Because we're going to be going on to the next segment, but I think we could talk about this for a very, very long time.
Absolutely.
So I think this is quite interesting, and these are really important things too. I would say that yes, I agree with all those things, and I think it's really just being aware of the situation, because you're absolutely right. Sometimes you got to make people feel comfortable, right? And that's different for everybody. It's totally different for everybody. Like you don't want to like getting too close with personal space, right? That's something like, you know, do you mind if I adjust your hair or something like that? These are important things to consider and to really be aware of. I think it's really just being aware of the environment and kind of being in the moment, so to speak. That's what I would say. Okay, so I think that we are going on to the next segment.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we are going to be talking about adventure and photography.
Ooh, exciting.
So, have you ever thought about basically just dropping everything and just wanting to just travel?
I've done that.
Yeah, I've actually done that too. And so has Walter Mitty. In the movie The Secret Life of Walter Mitty,
Basically, he is an employee at Life magazine, and he develops photography for them. So basically, he's just in this, basement developing photographs for them for years. He's in this 9-to-5 job, doing the same thing day in and day out, and he just fantasizes about things, because he's bored. But basically, Life magazine, announces that they are going to print their last issue, their printed issue, and they need to find the best photo for the final cover. And so, but apparently he loses the negative, the photograph. So he goes out and he travels to Iceland, to Greenland, to try to find the photographer who took this photo because he thought he had it. So it was a really great movie, a lot deep meaning behind it. It was all about, exploring things, seeing the world, and I just really enjoyed it. Last night was the first time that I watched it. I mean, what did you think about it?
Well, I've watched it many times. In fact, I told you, I said you really should watch this movie last night.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. No. It's I think it speaks to so many people because it appeals, because I think we all have this feeling basically about maybe being stuck and then really kind of wanting to explore and just get up and go. Now, it's not, some of the things that he does in terms of getting up and going aren't very realistic. It's more of a metaphor. For example, he goes to Greenland, right, and with just like one jacket and a briefcase. He just goes to Greenland, which is not, but that's not, it's more of a metaphor for kind of just, I think, really living life to the fullest. And I think it relates back maybe to the motto of life too, which I really didn't know the motto until I saw the movie. And I think it's a great motto.
Yeah,
I think it's a great motto.
To see the world, things dangerous to come, to see behind walls, to come closer, to find each other, and to feel. I mean, that's the purpose in life, is what they were saying of what Life's magazine motto is. And I mean, I think that way too. I mean, it was very deep, very spiritual for me to watch. It made me want to travel and take photos, but also kind of live in the moment. I feel like sometimes when you're taking, photographs, you're kind of so used to being behind a wall and not really interacting with, with people. But when you want to live in that moment for yourself personally. So it's not always about capturing the photo. Sometimes it's just about living life. So yeah.
Well, there's that great scene that where there was the Sean Penn. So Ben Stiller is looking for Sean Penn, this photo, and it's great because Ben Stiller, he goes to the Himalayas. He suddenly becomes an expert mountain climber and everything like that, which is funny. But then he finds Sean Penn, and Sean Penn is actually photographing a snow leopard, which is a type of like a leopard that lives in the Himalaya. And so he's spending like weeks and weeks trying to find this like snow leopard, right? And then there's a great scene in the movie where Sean Penn, he has the snow leopard, he's just about to take the photo, and then Ben Stiller character, or Walter Mitty, is like, well, when are you going to take the photo? And then Sean Penn's like, he doesn't take the photo because he's like, well, sometimes I just want to see the moment and feel the moment. And I think that's kind of this issue of the decisive moment, that we're maybe talking about. And that scene really resonated with me because, sometimes with a camera, I feel like sometimes like with the camera, it's like there's a wall and it's safe. It's a safe wall, but I want to be involved at the same time too, really. And because sometimes just living in the moment of instead of just trying to document everything, but at the same time documenting taking that photo is also very addictive, and recording things is very addictive also. So it's kind of this double-edged sword almost. It's an interesting philosophical thing, actually, kind of that double-edged sword that we're talking about. And in a perfect world, I think that, it'd be nice to have both. And that does happen. I do believe it happens. It has happened to me a few times. There's been a few videos that I've done and documentaries that I've done that really, I think, where I became part of it, but I was also documenting it. Again, probably the best, most fun video I've ever worked on is this, the College of Marine Science video I did about the camp for girls. And it was really great because I was part of it, but I got to record it too. And that's like the best of both worlds kind of a thing. So, but yeah, and the soundtrack in the movie is great too.
Yes.
The soundtrack is
Really
awesome. There's so
I
many great
enjoyed it.
scenes, so many great scenes, and the cinematography is great. And then the guy from Parks and Rec is in it. He kind of plays the corporate guy. And for those that like Parks and Rec, it's really very, very funny. So anyways, I think actually it appears that it is 6:30.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
Well,
yes.
we want to leave a question out for people to really think about is, you know, what do you think is the purpose in life? What is your purpose in life? You know, and to just encourage you guys to just not be afraid to go after your dreams, to explore things, even if you're traveling by yourself. I remember I took my very first trip by myself to Atlanta, and everyone was like, don't go by yourself. And I went. I was excited, and I'm glad I did. I learned a lot. I definitely will be traveling overseas, hopefully, you know, in the years to come. But yeah, that was a really good episode I think we had tonight. But thank you for joining us. So we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.